everyone, and welcome to today's episode. We're going to be talking about Girl Lost by Kate Angelo. So, this one is a romantic suspense novel and it fits within the Christian fiction category. And it's also book one in the King Legacy series. So, why did I want to read this one? Well, I enjoy reading romantic suspense, and I saw the book description for this one and thought that looks really interesting. I haven't read any books by Kate Angelo before, but I definitely will be again because I really enjoyed this one. And I'll add my usual disclaimer and say thank you to the publisher who provided an advance reader copy, and all the opinions that I express in this episode are completely my own. So let's talk about the book. Girl Lost by Kate Angelo is set in Florida, and it's in a small beach town, and it's not a ritzy posh beach town with lots of tourists spending lots of money. It's more of a working class town that has a bit of a crime problem. So it's very different to a lot of the preconceived ideas that me as an Aussie would have about Florida. But anyway, this one I would describe as being 50-50 or 60-40 romantic suspense in terms of the way it's split. And there are a number of romance and suspense tropes in this one. So we have a second chances romance, which I really enjoyed. And in the backstory, there was a teen pregnancy and the baby was adopted out. So we have those tropes in the story. We also have our heroine who has worked for a decade for the CIA, and she's coming back to her hometown after having not been there for 18 years. Our hero works for the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, so he's a special agent. We have lots of danger in this book. There's a lot of stuff happening, and I would definitely describe it as high octane suspense. We have forced proximity, we have a kidnapping that happens, we've got teenagers that are missing, we've got quite a few mysteries to solve, and this one has found family themes. So let's talk about the first line, which is this one. Luna Rosati could disappear into a crowd, any city, any life. So, as you've guessed, we're in Luna's point of view, and she's our leading lady. Now, she's in her mid 30s, and she's a CIA operative who's on leave in the States, and she's actually looking to leave the CIA completely. There's a whole lot of reasons behind that. And so she grew up in this Florida beach town where the story is set, and she's returning home for the first time in 18 years. So at the start of the story, we learn that she was a troubled teen and she was saved by her mentor. And he ran what was called the Warrior Program. So he was a Christian who had a heart for saving teenagers who were lost and needed direction. And he offered the alternative to going to juvie. So looked after the foster kids in a court-ordered situation, so they didn't have to get locked up in juvenile detention. And it was her mentor that when she was 16 and pregnant and didn't feel like there's a whole lot of stuff that happened, and she didn't feel like she could keep the baby for a whole list of reasons, he was the one that organized the adoption. And then she ran away and hasn't been back. So in chapter one, where the story opens, she's sitting in a diner that's very familiar to her, although people aren't recognizing her because she's so different now. And she's waiting to meet her mentor because she reached out to him wanting to find her daughter, who would be about 18 years old now. And he said that he could help her. So she's waiting to meet him. And then that introduces us to our hero. So his name is Corbin, and he's in his mid 30s. He's 2 years older than Luna, and he works at the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and he's a special agent there. So that's my understanding is that's the equivalent to like the FBI in Florida. And at the start of the story, his boss has a teenage daughter who's missing, and she's been missing for a number of weeks. And so he's been put on the case to find this teen girl. It's the only work he's doing at the moment. And she's from obviously the same town. So he's gone to the diner to question the people that work there and hang out there to find out if he can get any information and leads on where this young girl is who's gone missing. So that's where we start. And of course, this is where our meet cute happens because they're both in the diner at exactly the same time, which is a complete coincidence and a massive shock because neither of them expected to see each other there. So it's a dynamite of a meet cute. And Corbin was also a troubled teen. They both had very dysfunctional families. And he knew Luna from when they did the Warrior program together. And he's also the father of the baby that was adopted out. So they had a teen romance. She fell pregnant. A whole lot of stuff happened. The baby was adopted. She ran away and effectively ghosted Corbin and their friend group and everyone else in town. So there's a lot of history that is sitting behind what's going on in the story. And why I call it a dynamite opening, it's not just because of their shared pasts all sort of clashing together. They actually witness a kidnapping, and it's their mentor, who Luna's there to meet, who is kidnapped in broad daylight in front of them. So it's a pretty big opening. So, as you can imagine, there are a lot of problems in this story. Obviously, the kidnapping is a number one priority, and particularly for Luna, because she needs to find him, not just because she cares for him and she's worried for his safety, but he's also the key to finding out where her daughter is. We also have Corbin, who's looking for his boss's missing daughter, and there's a lot of complications that go along with that because she was quite a troubled teen for a whole lot of reasons. And they both have really complicated histories. Corbin's father is in jail for murder, so there's a lot of stuff that goes with that. And Luna has really big trust issues from her background. And instead of dealing with stuff, she runs away. So that's part of her character journey in the story is dealing with that. And so, as it turns out, they end up having to work together to find all these missing people. And there's quite a few missing people and solve the mystery of why this is all happening. And there are a lot of secrets in this story, lots of secrets, and secrets that Corbin and Luna are keeping from each other. And it all goes back to their really complicated past and how all that history and what happened needs to get unpacked in the story. And at the same time, they're both in danger from an unknown source and they assume it relates to something they're investigating. But of course, they're investigating multiple things at the same time, which makes it tricky to work out what's going on. But as the story goes on, the danger increases as we progress through the story. So basically, this is a page turner that you keep reading and keep reading to find out what happens next. And I absolutely love the story. And I was hooked from when I read the first page. I was totally into the story and into the situation. And I read it quickly. Well, it probably doesn't seem quickly. I did read it over 3 days, but I started reading when I was on a flight. I was on 2 flights to come home from a holiday. So that's when I started reading. And then every spare moment over the next 2 days, I'm trying to finish this book because I had to know what happens next. And I just love the characters. Corbin and Luna were fabulous characters. They were brave. They had so many, they weren't perfect people and they'd made mistakes and they'd made mistakes in the past. And so they had a lot of vulnerability and a lot of rough edges and a lot of stuff that had really some really deep-seated hurts that they were dealing with. And I just loved how Kate unpacked all of that in the story and how we got to learn about why they are the way they are and also seeing their journey to healing as well was just lovely. And there was so much danger. It was an action-packed suspense plot, and I just loved it because we kept rolling and you never quite knew what was going to happen next. And if there was a quiet moment in the story, you knew that something was about to blow up. And the side characters were just delightful, and particularly the group of friends that they grew up together with in the Warrior program, who I suspect will be future leading characters in more stories in the series. They were really fascinating and really interesting group of people. And I really appreciated the found family themes in the story and the way they played out. It was really well done and unexpected in many ways as well. And the story ending, I just loved it. Loved how it all came together. It's not, I couldn't guess it from the beginning. And I love it when I read a romantic suspense and it's really unpredictable where we land at the end. And I really want to read the next book after finishing this one as well. So, my favorite book quote in the story is this one: Forgiveness isn't about deserving, but about grace. So it's one of our characters who says this in the story, and I would call this one a story that has relevant faith elements. And we have redemption and forgiveness themes that really are an organic part of the story in the way they come out. And trusting God was a very big theme, and doing things in God's strength rather than your own strength was really something that was drawn out in the story. And both Corbin and Luna had their own faith journeys to walk. And I really liked how the faith elements in the story all came together. It was just lovely. And in terms of the impact on me, I was really, really worried about the characters because there was so much going on and there was so much unknown stuff happening. And I just loved it. As I said, I kept turning the page to find out what happens next. And I was really worried about the characters and wanted to make sure that they were okay as well. And there were a lot of secrets that got revealed in this story, and the plot took some really interesting directions. And some of those directions really did make me think about the issues that got raised. And I'm not saying any more because I don't want to give away spoilers, but there's some very interesting things that come up as you read this story that I really appreciated thinking about. So, in terms of trigger warnings, this isn't a light suspense novel. There's a lot of stuff that happens, and I would actually give this one a trigger warning if teenagers and young people and minors being in danger is something that's a trigger for you in terms of something bad could happen, then this might not be the book to read right now because there's some quite big stuff that happens, and I wouldn't call it a dark book, but it definitely touches on some quite dark themes as well. And yeah, so if you're triggered by missing children, then this might be not the book to read right now. So, in summary, I would recommend Girl Lost to readers who like high octane suspense, danger, and action packed stories where the suspense plot keeps you guessing. If you like law enforcement and special agents, if you like missing persons and plot twists that keep you guessing, if you like romantic suspense that has a number of mysteries and they get deeper as the story goes and take really interesting directions, then you'll like this one. If you like second chances romances where you've got a very complicated history that the main characters have, then you'll like this one. If you like characters with depth where you sort of peel the layers and get to know them as the story progresses, then you'll like this one. And if you like found family themes, you'll find the ending to this story very satisfying. It was wonderful. And I also recommend this one to readers who like relevant faith elements in the story that are very organic and come out of what's actually happening. And I just loved it. Thanks for joining me today. Does Girl Lost sound like a book that you'd like to read? Have you read it? What did you think? You can let me know. If you're listening on the podcast, you can send me a text via a link in the show notes. If you're watching on YouTube, you can like the episode and you can also leave a comment at YouTube. And if you've enjoyed listening to this episode, please subscribe at your favorite podcasting app or subscribe at YouTube, and then you'll get a notification of when my next episode drops. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please share the link with a friend, especially a friend who likes reading romantic suspense novels and a friend who you think would enjoy reading Kate Angelo's books. Thanks for tuning in and see you next time.